Manchester in England in 1930 and educated there. I took my primary degree in 1951 in Manchester, and then I was awarded a research scholarship in the Dublin Institute for Advanced Studies. That was a small institution, but it had a Nobel Prize winner, Erwin Schrödinger, who was very distinguished, and I enjoyed that 3 years. In 1954, I was awarded a fellowship at the Atomic Energy Research Establishment at Harwell. But before I went there, I had the opportunity, a marvellous opportunity, of attending a summer school at Verena in Lake Como. And the principal lecturer there was Enrico Fermi.
Your encounter with Enrico Fermi happened when you were a young lecturer in UCD. Would you say that was one of your highlights in your early career as a physicist?
Oh yes, because the opportunity to meet and talk to Fermi was extraordinary. Fermi was probably the greatest Italian physicist since Galileo, and one of the greatest physicists of the 20th century. And he was a brilliant lecturer. The only problem was that he lectured off the cuff. He had no notes. And to preserve his work for posterity, we didn't realize at the time that he was very seriously ill. To preserve his work for posterity, somebody had to struggle with an old-fashioned tape recorder and transcribe his lectures
and
reconstruct
lectures.
them.
Yes.
All his lectures.
And
at that time.
Was it a seminar held in Italy?
Yes, it was a 3-week summer school held in Verena on Lake Como.
Mm-hmm.
And there were about 50 people at it. About 40 of them were students.
Yes.
Half the students were Italian and half of them were from different countries.
Yes, and there were big names in the field of physics at those
well,
days.
we were all very young at that stage.
Yes.
The lecturers, of course, were big names.
Yes, for example?
Well, for instance, Professor Bruno Rossi from MIT, Professor Heisenberg from Göttingen, Professor Blackett from Manchester.
Quite a bunch of brains.
Oh yes, Nobel Prize winners, several Nobel Prize winners.
Well, indeed.
This is a picture of the students and lecturers at Verena. There are 15 people on that picture. Fermi is there, and Professor Occhiarini from Milan, Professor Bernardini, Professor Rossi from MIT, some very distinguished physicists indeed, and then about 20 Italian postdoctorals and students, and about 20 from abroad. Fermi was brilliant at anything he did, and that extended to playing games. So when we played calcetto in the Albergo del Sole, Fermi, instead of taking one handle, like everybody else, took 2 handles and controlled them independently. And this is a picture of Fermi. You see him holding the things. And it's an interesting picture. It just so happens that the people there are, from left to right, Professor Conversi, then Professor Keefe, Dr. Clark from MIT, Dr. Menon, then Fermi, then Professor Amaldi from Rome, and then Professor Pupi, who is director of the course, and then finally me in the bottom right-hand corner. And it so happened that those four of those people, Keefe, Clark, Menon, and myself, were the people who did most of the transcription. It was an enormously powerful experience, and I got a great deal out of it, though I had a lot of difficulty with following the lectures. They were brilliantly given, but the material was quite difficult and quite new. So I had trouble with that, but the transcription, although it was very tedious at the time, helped me a lot, because it meant going over sentence by sentence the material. So after the Fermi lectures, I went off to Harwell and started my fellowship there. And I did a number of experiments there to do with cosmic radiation.
an astrophysicist, which is a fascinating area. Myself, as a layman, I've always been fascinated by this concept of time traveling and time, space, philosophical concepts or categories, whatever philosophers have called them. Has it time traveling been part of your studies and research or fascination or whatever?
I've been interested in the possibility, of course, but I can't claim any great knowledge of it. I understand that certain nuclear reactions, high energy particles striking others, can be best explained in terms of something which we call time travel. Now, the time travel would only last for a millionth of a millionth of a millionth of a millionth of a second, so it wouldn't be of any practical use, but the possibility of going backwards in time would seem to be a part of physics. It seems very unlikely that it would ever be of any practical use. And of course the societal impact of going backwards in time, if you annihilate somebody's grandfather, what are you going to do?
True.